She pushed me that, okay, Gopal, you keep on saying that you are doing really good in your corporate life. Everyone is talking that you are doing great. So why are you working for others? Why not for yourself? I just started Govita International as a first company.
Okay.
The idea was to do the trading in Southeast Asian market. Govita, it has a 6 alphabet. Okay. So it's a G-O, that stands for Gopal. V-I, Vinti, that's my wife's name. And T-A, Tanish, my son's name.
Okay.
So that's how we made this name. In Fertagro, we are more than 35 people.
Who are basically working in the African market.
African market, that's a full-fledged distribution which we are doing in Africa.
Okay.
And on Govita, we are around 10 people. Country like Sri Lanka, Malaysia, Indonesia, Pakistan, North Africa like Morocco. One guy is based in Spain also to handle the Western Africa.
So now this podcast is getting very interested because you are running 2 shows parallelly. You are running a distribution also, you are running a trading also.
Southeast Asia market is quite mature and Africa is still, we can say 30-40 years back what India used to be. Today the Africa consumption for the fertilizer is around 15 to 25 kg per hectare.
Okay.
And you also know
Yes.
what is the consumption in Southeast Asian market, which is more than 300 kg to 350 kg, right? So still we have a 20 times growth.
India?
I
know,
think
but
we have
still,
done a lot
yeah.
of podcast. We have seen SSP is getting export out of India to Latin America. First is Ivory Coast, where the port called Abidjan.
Okay.
This country cater at least 3 to 4 landlocked market. You look at the Beira, the Mozambique port, right? So which cater Zambia, Malawi, Zimbabwe and Mozambique, 4 countries.
4 countries.
Even sometimes cargo goes to Congo also. And Beira, sometimes the ports are congested where we have to wait for 40-50 days. The logistic cost is sometimes extremely high. It contributes 30 to 40% of your product cost. Even India, I think received the one product with a baby cape-size vessel also, where the fertilizer was loaded around 90,000 ton plus. So we started Sri Lanka being our major market. When they stop importing, even we have shipped some product. That product has reached there, but government didn't allow to clear that cargo. And we have to re-export from Sri Lanka to other markets. As I said, I like to travel, so maybe traveler, blogger or some.
हेलो, वेलकम टू सुपल शर्मा शो। आज का पॉडकास्ट बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग होने वाला है। सबसे पहले ये पॉडकास्ट वी आर शूटिंग इन दुबई एंड वी आर गोइंग ट्रांसनेशनल। सेकंड, आज के जो गेस्ट हैं, ही इज द नोन फिगर in the global fertilizer industry. He has worked in multiple companies and contributed to the global fertilizer sector. Basically, he's a CA, and I would like to share that at age of 35, he left his corporate world and entered into the entrepreneurship and started his own venture. So, आज के podcast में बहुत ज़्यादा learning होने वाली है. So, let's start. Hello sir, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
और कैसे हो?
All good.
All good.
Welcome to Dubai.
Thank you. And first of all, thank you for taking out your time. And also thank you for shooting that podcast on such a short notice on Sunday and allowing us to shoot at your house. Thank you for the same. अभी सर सबसे पहले आप अपनी इनिशियल लाइफ के बारे में बताओ, आपकी स्कूलिंग कहाँ से रही?
So actually I belong to Rajasthan.
Okay.
From very small town. And I'm from a very humble family, so studied in a government school.
कौन से टाउन से आप?
I'm from Falodi.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in Jodhpur district.
Okay.
Yeah, so did education from the government school, government college, then did the CA and CS. Of course, that was not my first choice by force because we were not having enough resources to afford some other courses. Yeah, so that's how we started and then
हमने अभी भी रिसेंट पॉडकास्ट किया है, वो भी राजस्थान से थे आपके टाइम की, उन्होंने भी सीए किया था, तो वो कह रहे थे कि राजस्थान में उस टाइम पे बहुत ट्रेंड था सीए का. इज इट?
Yeah, it's maybe because that is the cheapest option which is available. And then of course being a Marwadi, so it's the business is in blood also, so that makes your life easy to grow further.
Okay. Yeah. And after that what did you do?
So after in professional life, after doing CACS, I was doing management consultancy in Mumbai
Okay.
with the Grant Thornton for a couple of years. Then I moved to Aditya Birla Group in Dubai. Their subsidiary called Swiss Singapore.
This
There
was which year?
um, around 2010.
Okay.
Then I worked with them for 2.5 years.
वो फर्स्ट टाइम आपका इंटरनेशनल एक्सपोजर था?
Yes. And from there, that, with the Swiss Singapore, that was my foundations where I cleared all the basics in international trade, and then moved to ETG. There I spent 8.5 years to 9 years. And then during the COVID time, I decided to do something my own, and that's how I ended up.
And that's a big decision at the age of 35, especially when you have your kids, and कैसे होगा, क्या होगा, वो कुछ दिमाग में आया at that time, or it was just a leap of faith?
No, it's not. It was not leap of faith. It was more because of my wife. She pushed me that, okay, Gopal, you keep on saying that you are doing really good in your corporate life. Everyone is talking that you are doing great. So why are you working for others? Why not for yourself? And during COVID time, that pressure was keep on building
Yes.
because you are at your home.
Yes.
And then, when you are in C cadre, and then all of a sudden said, okay, fine, it's enough now. Need to do my own.
Very
And
nice.
then I took a decision. Of course, it was not very easy decisions, but finally we ended up doing that. Yeah. So
I also did the same decision at the age of 35. I left Coromandel SQM where I was working, and I can understand कैसा होता है to tell it on the camera. It looks good when the things are going right, but at end of the day I also feel good, and it has been a very good journey. और जब आपने कंपनी स्टार्ट किया, क्या प्रोजेक्ट और क्या कंपनी आपने स्टार्ट किया?
So idea was like to start its own, right?
Okay.
That was the only decision I took.
Okay.
Okay. I didn't know what and where I will do. So I just started Govita International as a first company.
Okay.
The idea was to do the trading in Southeast Asian market.
Okay.
Okay. And then I met with Mr. Shiraj.
Okay. Mr. Siraj from Rahmatullah Group.
Rahmatullah Group, Transcom and Transfers.
Okay.
So we were just sitting, and then he said, Gopal, you have experience in Africa. Why don't we start some company in Africa, do distributions, do some value chain creation and all this. I said, okay, fine, that's a great idea. So these two companies which currently I'm running, one with the idea of having a distribution business in Africa, and another company other than Africa, all the trade which I'm doing via Govita International.
And why the name Govita?
that's again an interesting journey. So Govita, it has a 6 alphabet. Okay, so it's a Go, that stands for Gopal, Vi Vinti, that's my wife's name, and Ta Tanish, my son's name.
Okay.
So that's how we made this name.
And that is really nice. You like it shows like the love for your family and got incorporated into the company.
Oh yeah. And even my wife spent a lot of time with me to to see that how this company can grow, because she works with the bank. So
Okay.
and she was again into the trade finance.
Okay.
So it was a perfect match, chemistry for me, and it really helped me to take up this company further.
When you started with Govita, so at that time funding का कैसा किया? Like you had your own funds which you started, or you got funds from outside?
See, trust me, when I started, I thought it's going to be difficult, but we'll do small business. But when I really jumped into the pool, then I got to know I have a lot of friends in the industry. They
Okay.
also helped me. They said, okay, Gopal, don't worry, we'll help you. So from there we started. There was the backing from some producers also.
Okay.
So that really worked well. And then, of course, all our savings were also there. So it was good.
Right. And now these two companies are there. And how is your team in these two companies? Like how many people are there
So in Fertagro, we are more than 35 people.
who are basically working in the African market?
African market, that's a full-fledged distribution which we are doing in Africa.
Okay.
And on Govita, we are around 10 people.
Okay.
Okay, so in Govita, we have a strategy that, not to have more people in Dubai, because you really don't need the people on the ground.
Okay.
So like country like Sri Lanka, Malaysia, Indonesia, Pakistan, North Africa like Morocco, one guy is based in Spain also to handle the Western Africa. So that's how we did. And then we do some strategy where, we do the JVs with other companies. and that's how we are managing. For Fertagro, since it's a distribution business, so we have more people to handle that distribution. So that's to create a large value chain. And today we are in 7 countries altogether, 6 in Africa, and head office is in Dubai.
Very nice, very nice. And what is the brand of Fertagro?
So we got 2 brands. One is Eagle Fertilizer and another is Fertagro.
Okay. And how do you do branding? Like, is it one for the premium, one for the generic, one for the specialty? How is the brand differentiation?
Not that much, because at the moment we are more into bulk commodities.
Okay.
So it's only the country wise.
Understood.
Decided, yeah.
So it's a countrywide distribution. So now this podcast is getting very interested because you are running 2 shows parallelly. You are running a distribution also, you are running a trading also. So you are running a trading house for basically which has started with the Southeast Asia, which can grow globally, and the distribution also for the African market. So now we will talk about the various aspects, and I'll be juggling around for both the aspects, like for Southeast Asia and for Africa. So first of all, tell our audience, a young entrepreneur wants to start, what is the potential of Africa in general and what is the potential of the Southeast Asia, how native or how mature the markets are, if you talk about the fertilizer industry.
Okay, so both markets really act differently. Okay, Southeast Asia market is quite mature, and Africa is still, we can say, 30-40 years back what India used to be.
Okay.
Right? So the big growth which can come only from Africa. So if someone really want to get into international business, everything, I would suggest to invest more time in Africa.
When you say more time in Africa, like 40 years behind, so it means like the growth of the agriculture, technology and the distribution channels and everything is still behind?
Yes, of course. So if you look at today, the Africa consumption for the fertilizer is around 15 to 25 kg per hectare.
Okay.
And you also know
Yes.
what is the consumption in Southeast Asian market, which is more than 300 kg to 350 kg. Right, so still we have a 20 times growth.
Yes.
Plus the young population is there.
Yes.
Yeah, and still the Africa is really behind in terms of all the things. Still the value chain is getting created. People are less. Risk is more, but the scope is more. Scope for growth is more.
Okay. And what kind of fertilizers are there in Africa and Southeast Asia?
So again, I can't have a single answer to both the markets.
In general, I'm talking about.
So Africa is pretty common, which they have been using for last few decades. They are still using urea and NPKs, or some market it's a DAP. Okay. Mostly into all the market. And nowadays, this market is moving towards NPK blending, especially into the West Africa. East is still NPK compound. Right, South Africa is completely NPK blended market, and then on Southeast Asian market it is more customer tailored product, where you have a palm plantations, rubber plantations. So they produce few NPK grades based on their requirement, and Southeast Asian market has developed a lot. So there you will see the water soluble product and the commodity product. Then nowadays lot of different new the technology related
to specialty fertilizers and whatever is there apart from the bulk, whatever the new technologies are there in Southeast Asia.
Absolutely, yeah. And they are really ready to take a new challenge. If commercially, if it makes sense, they immediately switch also, which is not the case in Africa, because still they don't have access to all these new technology.
Okay. And how much is the import dependency between the both, like in Africa and Southeast Asia?
No, sorry, can you?
How is the import dependency? Like.
Yeah. So Southeast Asia market, like Malaysia and Indonesia, if you see, they are nitrogen producers. They export nitrogen like urea and others, and then they import phosphate and potash. Okay. Sri Lanka, let's say it's 100% import based market. Pakistan, again, they are self-sufficient in urea, but still they import phosphate and potash. So I think Southeast Asia market is quite mixed. When we talk about the Africa, it's Generally, they are 100% import based, but recently a lot of urea export is happening out of Nigeria. So
Okay.
Nigeria become a big urea exporter.
There would be some young agri graduates and some young agri professionals who will be watching this podcast. Before going further, I'll take the name of the country and you can tell what kind of fertilizers are used in one or two line in general there in these countries.
Yeah.
Let's start with this Southeast Asia, Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka import everything, so mainly like urea and potash and TSP something.
And Indonesia.
Indonesia buy rock phosphate and potash, and then they export urea.
Okay. Malaysia.
Malaysia is they buy urea also, but they export at the same time. So it's again depend on the port to port, and then they buy phosphate and potash.
Pakistan.
Pakistan majorly like urea is self-sufficient, but they import phosphate and potash.
India.
India,
I know, but still, yeah.
India import. I think that's the major, the largest importer in the world. So of course, India imports everything: nitrogen, phosphate, potash. But nowadays, I have seen from India there are a lot of special product which they really want to export also, and which comes to Africa. Recently, we have seen these nano fertilizer is also coming to Africa as a trial. So that's really a good development. And then a lot of NPKs which they really want to export. We have seen SSP is getting export out of India to Latin America. So trend is changing, and if India can really have a control on the cost optimization and everything, then India can do the same what China has done maybe 15-16 years ago.
Yes, that's very nice. And now we'll talk about the African countries.
Senegal's import urea and NPK, though they have a local production also NPK, but it again, if commercially, if it makes sense, they import.
IUC?
So IVC, it's like urea, phosphate, potash, everything they import, and at the same time, there is a lot of blending which is happening in IVC.
Ghana?
So Ghana is mainly NPK and urea market.
Mali,
again, if you look at the whole, this is Francophone's block, we can say, right? So it's a cotton belt. So cotton, they use less nitrogen, high phosphate and potash formulas. So some blenders, they import all the raw material, and some NPKs also come from Morocco.
Burkina?
So Burkina Faso, Mali, IVC, Senegal, it's a full block.
Okay.
And that's how similar formula. So Mali and Burkina is more or less same cotton belt.
Okay.
And then there is a cash crop which they export like cashew, sesame and other things. So for that, lot of NPKs goes.
East Zambia?
So in east side, when we talk about Africa, so it's Zambia which import urea NPK.
Okay. And
Mozambique, again, it's a very small market. So whatever the product really passing through this country, they use.
Okay.
So it's urea and NPK, but similar, the weather which they are sharing, so similar crops.
And one more thing we want to understand, East Africa market and West Africa fertilizer market are quite different, what we have heard. In general, how it is?
So, one thing, when we are sitting really outside Africa, we think whole Africa is same. That's not the case, right? Each country has different weather, different crop, different soil, right? So we can't have a one similar formula for whole Africa. West is completely different because it's been ruled by French colonies, and the West is of French colonies, and that there, if you see, the crops are different. Right, on east side it's more Anglo spoken countries, so that's more little bit developed than West.
Okay.
So let me put it that way.
Very nice. And now we'll again come to Africa and Southeast Asia. Which are the major 3 ports in Africa where most of the fertilizer is imported? And how is the import happens in Southeast Asia, the major ports for the specific countries?
So let me take first Africa, which is near to my heart. So first is like Ivory Coast, where the port called Abidjan. This country cater at least 3 to 4 landlocked market.
Okay.
then their own demand of Abidjan. So from Abidjan they catered Mali,
Okay.
Burkina Faso, Niger. So it's a very big hub.
Okay.
On if we go little up like Senegal also cater some part of the Mali. Then there are a few countries like Guinea-Bissau, Gambia, all these nearby countries they cater. So Dakar is the second port. Third, like Tema is the Ghana. From Ghana they cater Ghana, then Burkina Faso, Niger, little bit part of Togo. So these three major port on the west side. Coming to east, which is even you look at the Beira, the Mozambique port, right? So which catered Zambia, Malawi, Zimbabwe, and Mozambique, like four countries. Even sometimes cargo goes to Congo also. So five countries, right? And Beira, sometimes the ports are congested where we have to wait for 40-50 days.
40-50 days it is there only.
Yeah, the vessels are waiting outside for 40-50 days.
So it will be a huge detention damage.
Yeah, it's a big damage which we need to pay. So either we have to plan maybe 3 months earlier before the seasons, or you have to wait there in a queue.
So supply chain, if you talk in Africa, it could be a nightmare also if
Yeah,
not planned properly.
No. So that's the biggest things. In Africa, if you really don't plan logistic well in advance, then you can't do business there very well, because sometimes you will not find a warehouses to store your cargo. Okay, and I mean a proper warehouse. And then the logistic cost is sometimes extremely high. It contributes like 30-40% of your product cost.
Okay.
Right? And sometimes even more.
Okay.
So you have to plan well in advance so that you can save a lot of money there. And then you can compete with others also. Otherwise it's extremely difficult to operate in Africa. And when we talk about Southeast Asian market, I mean each country has their major port, like Sri Lanka, Colombo. So all the imports happens via Colombo. Malaysia, of course, is little bit scattered, where you have a Port Klang, Pasir Gudang, and it's again where the plantations are there, because it's a palm plantation. So from there, the NPK blenders are sitting really near to the port only. So all the raw materials come there, they mix, and then they supply to the plantations. So they can save on the logistic
part.
When we go to let's say Pakistan, it's a Karachi port, right? Now some activities is happening in Gwadar to cater Afghanistan, but otherwise it's a Karachi port. And Malaysia, the Indonesia, it's more about Surabaya, and again the same strategy where the plantations are there, right? So
Understood.
From there, yeah.
Very nice. And one more thing, when you talked about the movement of the cargo from one country where it's cleared and going to the other countries in Africa, so every country which is passing by, do we need an import clearance? How it happens?
So in Africa,
can you explain with an example?
Yeah, so let's take example of Beira, right?
Okay.
You have to keep the cargo in bonded warehouse.
Okay.
And then cargo will go as in transit. You have to declare well in advance. You have a timeline to move this product to the respective countries.
Let's start with the timeline. Say, for example, today we have started. Today is the 2nd of Feb. So we have shipped one cargo from China to this port. So how it will happen?
So the overall lead time, if you look at, when you order, maybe in 30-40 days you get the shipment period and laycan. Then you ship another 30 days time. Then go into Beira. If you're lucky, then your vessel get berth in 30 days or 40 days, you don't know.
So it will be keep on there only, waiting only.
I mean, especially starting from May till Jan and Feb, 7-8 months is like that. And then some cyclones also come. So that's, in our industry, we call that port as a cyclone zone.
Okay.
So a lot of cyclones comes. One cyclone happens, then, at least for another 7-10 days, you can't do anything. So then you to shut the cargo, you have a 6 months time to clear that product and move to the respective country, right? And you have to keep it in bonded warehouse and need to declare as an in-transit cargo.
Okay.
Yeah. So overall, when we plan, let's say if the season is going now, the cargo we bought in July, August or May, June,
so
6 months planning.
So when you are buying cargo and then the prices within say 6 months, it will go up and down, the currency depreciation, everything will happen. So that also you have to accommodate in the cost. That's also tricky, right?
So here we are talking two different risks. One is the product delivery, right? The product has to be there before the season time. Right?
And what's the main season time in Africa?
So east side now the season is, west will start in May, June. So we already start receiving the product in West Africa.
Okay.
Yeah.
And after this, once it is cleared, how is the warehousing facility in all the countries?
No, it's still lots to do in Africa. I
Okay.
mean, the warehouses are not really up to the mark, and sometimes you have to plan well in advance. And warehousing costs, especially like say Abidjan and other ports, is extremely expensive, right? So if you have to store for 3-4 months, I mean, sometimes you have to plan really nicely. Otherwise, all your margin will go into logistic and warehousing.
Okay. And what about Southeast Asia?
Okay, Southeast Asia is like a similar to India type, where the markets are really mature, where the product movements are happening on handy size vessel, right? So if because the economic of scale has reached to up to handy size vessel. Okay, India now reached to Panamax,
Yes.
right? And then the margins levels are also
Can you
not.
tell our audience what are the different vessels, both the vessels which you have spoken?
So handy size generally is like 25 to 30,000 ton,
Okay.
and the Panamax is like 50,000 plus.
Okay.
And then even India, I think received the one product with the maybe Cape size vessel also, where the fertilizer was loaded around 90,000 ton plus. So
Okay.
yeah. So India becomes like India is getting more into the Panamax size. Then only it makes sense for someone to import there. But otherwise, Southeast Asia is still handy size vessel.
So we have just spoken about the vessels. Now I want to ask you, how is the uh, fertilizer control in different countries? Whether the majorly it's by the government or by the private player?
So I mean, controls are there. Each country has their own standards to follow, and but some countries are really very strict in terms of that. Because the specification and the parameters, like let's say Kenya, it has to be checked at the load port, and if
Okay.
it get fail, even your cargo is loaded, they will not allow you to berth the vessels.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
So
that has happened also. Have you seen any experience?
Yes. Then they said to move this vessel out, check again, and then bring it back. I mean, so it's that type of situation is also there, but otherwise controls are there. Only thing is that these formulas has not changed in Africa for quite long period, and then. If you need to introduce new product, then of course you have to go through with the long process. But existing product, I think it's quite easy to get the import permit and registration. So it's not that difficult.
And Southeast Asia?
Southeast Asia is very much matured. I mean, even the new product, I think you can easily get it. But country like Sri Lanka, they follow very strict regulations, where you have lot of heavy metal checks other than your normal nutrients checks also. So generally the government appoint inspection agency, they have to check that product, and once everything is clear, then only they will allow you to import the product. Otherwise you can't do anything with that product.
Okay, so it's very tedious there.
Yeah. In Sri Lanka, it is in very detail, but Indonesia and Malaysia, I think regulations are there. It's the only thing that and regulations is also around what is the normal product. So it's, I think
Like we have FCO here in India.
Yeah, correct.
So it's defined like urea should be like this, DAP should be like this, and
see, urea, DAP, I don't see that you find a major issue, right? Major issue comes with the mining product, right? Where your specifications are not okay. Where urea, like it's like over $1 billion plant, and they know what is specification, which is very well accepted over the world. So it's fine. I mean, the product actually match the specs. So should not be a problem.
okay. And one more thing I want to understand, like as you spoke about Sri Lanka, we have seen a fiasco when Sri Lanka stopped the import of the chemical fertilizers. What are your how at what stage you were like whether you were doing business at that time and how it affected you wherever you were there at that time?
No, so we started Sri Lanka being our major market. When they stop importing, even we have shipped some product. That product has reached there, but government didn't allow to clear that cargo, and we have to re-export from Sri Lanka to other market.
Oh, it has been really very tough, and money would have burned like anything because of this.
Fortunately, the fertilizer prices were going on.
Okay.
going up.
Okay.
Okay, so then instead of, losing money, we made money.
Okay.
But our sales to Sri Lanka has come down substantially. We have to move our resources from Sri Lanka to other countries. And now I think Sri Lanka is coming back, so it's fine.
Right. And one more thing I want to ask is, how is the ownership? Like, like in Africa, major fertilizer is controlled by the government agencies? I mean, they are distributing, or the private players are there?
So it again depend on country to country.
Distribution
Yeah,
system.
distribution. So like say Senegal government, there are government subsidy schemes are going on. So they ask private players to participate into it, and then we need to distribute.
Okay.
Some countries they buy themselves and then they distribute.
Okay.
Right. Like in Senegal, it's like a Russian system in India. So they give us the cooperatives address where we have to keep the stock, and the farmers come and they collect.
Okay.
In Zambia, where the e-voucher schemes is going on, so farmers come with a voucher.
Okay.
And we redeem. We have a tab, so we redeem that, and then we give the fertilizer to them. In some country, the part payment is done by government, part is from the farmers. So it's different. And some markets are completely open, like IVC government schemes are not there. Mali is 100% government buy, but the private players are there. Government is only just the buying and supplying.
And Southeast Asia?
Southeast Asia is pretty much open. I mean, even Sri Lanka, there used to be government schemes were going on, but now government is more or less is out, and it's complete private market. Malaysia, I've seen the same, and Indonesia is also same, and Pakistan also similar. I mean, okay, they control sometimes if the prices are going up, so they say, okay, this is the maximum price you put.
They put a cap on it.
Yeah, but otherwise it's pretty much open markets.
When you're talking about the subsidy in Africa, you are easily a private player can get money back. The subsidy is smooth in general.
You can imagine a situation, some of the African governments are not able to pay their debt, international bonds money. So you can imagine, we come into the second priority or maybe third priorities, right? So sometimes risks are there. We try to see that if we can get a souvenir insurance against the government, if we get it, it is fine. Otherwise, we take a calculated risk that how much money gets stuck for how long. Okay, your money will come. When? That's the question.
And how much it can be delayed, whatever the max you have seen in your career?
Okay, 3-4 years also. Sometimes we have taken money from the insurance company, and they finally, taken money from them.
Then. And how is the land holding would be the small only in Africa?
It's again depend country to country, but generally the small farmers are there, small shareholder farmers, and then you have a lot of commercial farming which is happening, especially on the West Africa side. There are a lot of palm plantations because it's a tropical weather, and then this rubber plantations are there. South Africa has a lot of different type of plantations. Malawi like a tobacco, Zimbabwe, they are a tobacco type. So it's if some commercial farms are also there, they are in a large scale. Otherwise, it's a small.
And Southeast Asia?
Southeast Asia is again the mix, right? So commercial farms are more. I mean, especially Malaysia, Indonesia, we know the palm plantations, rubber plantations are quite used. And otherwise normal crops are there. So, and the Sri Lanka is a tea plantations are there, and then otherwise the rice and normal crops are there.
Okay, and how is the credit distribution there? I mean to say the credit cycle.
So where are you placing yourself? If you try and target to sell importers, then there are big importers, they can pay. But if you are really getting into agro dealer, when you want really a small distribution, then you have to extend like 60 to 90 days credit also.
And when you talk about the importers, like LC is an issue in Africa. It's still an issue in Africa?
Oh yes, big time.
So how to solve that? Like if an exporter wants to do, so he has to go for a credit issue. Like how you mitigate that risk?
See, for Africa, we always try to have our own offices and warehouse there. So if you feel that your payment instruments are not in place, then we go and discharge cargo in our warehouse.
Okay,
yeah,
understood.
That's how we mitigate, because there is no other way to mitigate your risk there.
Okay, and we will be ending here the technical session. Just before that, we want to you tell our audience if somebody wants to start fertilizer trading in Africa and somebody wants to start in Southeast Asia apart from India. So which country he should focus first for his easy access?
So East Africa should be better choice, especially like Kenya, Tanzania, or Malawi, Zambia side, because it's English speaking area. So language will not be barrier, and the proximity to India is not also too far. So I think that should be better. Food wise also, culture wise also, it's not really completely different. So I would suggest if someone really want to start, then they should target on east side, and otherwise on Southeast Asian market, I think everything is open. So Malaysia, Indonesia, I think they can go and easily do. It's an easy entry there. It's not difficult, but the competition is more.
And one more thing, last question, like we have seen so many corporate companies, fertilizer industry opening up office in DMCC Dubai, and especially in Dubai. Why it is happening for the past 4 or 5 years? Why Dubai?
No, so Dubai, there are few reasons. One is it's a trading hub, okay, and secondly, if you look at for Indian community, I think this become a second home, or I would say it's a first home, and India becomes
That
a second
we
home.
also realized when we were talking, we never felt like that. We felt like we are outside India with the city of India. So like somebody asked me like which is the best city of India outside India, it's Dubai.
Yeah, it's more disciplined India, we can say. So I think for our family and kids, we really feel that this is the place where they can stay. From here to Africa, traveling is easy.
Okay.
Right? We get a direct flights and everything. And then I would not say the banks are very comfortable doing more business in Africa, but it is much easier compared with any other country.
And opening office in Dubai is also easy.
Yeah, very much easier.
Can you explain how it happens for our audience in India, like in general?
No, there are so many free zones which is here, and I mean you just need
What
to
do you mean
approach.
by free zone basically?
Free zones means you can come and open an office here, like offshore, onshore office, and from there you operate for.
Thank you for such a knowledgeable session. And now I would like to ask you one question from personally. What are the two qualities what you feel which made you who you are today?
One is passionate to learn more, and second is my hobby traveling. So I
Okay.
think both helped and.
And after traveling so much, now also you feel like traveling, you love traveling?
Oh yes, yeah.
Okay. So now let's move on to the rapid fire. 3 important qualities you look for the person when you hire.
3A, aspiration, accountability, and attitude. So aspirations to learn, accountability, taking ownerships, and ability to learn.
What you will be doing today if you are not into this fertilizer industry?
So as I said, I like to travel, so maybe traveler, blogger, or some.
Then you should have contacted our shooting team and they can take you now also if you want to change your business.
Maybe one day.
And I think the opportunity in the digital media is more coming up compared to the fertilizers. A management trainee joining today, what quick advice you will give him to climb the long corporate level?
So if you really want to become a business leader, you have to build your business, right? You need to build that. Then only you can quickly climb up to that. Otherwise, you will spend your full life. People are sitting above you. When they move, then only you will get a place. So best way, build your own business. Own means, or even within a corporate, you have to build something.
Something. Yeah. What is the one new thing you look forward to learn?
So now technologies are changing. So I'm really wanted to see how we can implement the blockchain and AI into fertilizer industry, because at the moment our industry is really not equipped, or they are not exploring these options. So I'm seriously thinking of this. Once I learn something, I'll really come out with some different idea.
And do share with us also.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Biggest challenge you have ever faced in your career?
So when I was, into the sea cadre at the comfort zone and all these things, and then I decided to move and starting own. So when you start your own, you are a CEO, you are chaprasi, you are everything.
Everything, yeah.
Right? So you have to do everything. So of course that was a challenging thing, but I really enjoy that.
Nice. Any decision which you want to go back and change?
No regret.
Okay. A moment in your life when you realize that you are born to do what you're doing now.
So when during the COVID time, sitting at home, my wife was telling same that why don't you start your own? And I really
So
felt
COVID
that's
has
the
been
time.
lucky for you.
Yeah, spend more time with the family and then realize there is a different world also. So
Yes. Take us through your daily routine.
so I'm early riser. I start my day at 6. Then doing breakfast with my family. Then I drop personally myself to my child to school, and that 30 minutes is my time with my son. And then after pray, go to office around 4 o'clock. I leave office, come home. Then I play some sports, maybe tennis or cricket, and then again evening pray, and then I go to bed around 8 9. Before that, I just read for some.
And when you say pray, you are a spiritual person?
Oh yes,
You believe in spirituality?
absolutely. Yeah.
And what do you do?
So I try to learn more from Bhagavad Gita.
Okay.
Because that's the best book for management, and I try to see that So there is a one group which we are having, and where we try to all are we call grust, right?
Okay.
So we try to see that what is important for us, and then how we can have a work-life balance, and the management and all this stuff.
Okay. Your advice to handle stress and anxiety?
So do what you really want to do. I don't think so you will have anxiety and stress. Yeah, you will enjoy.
Who is your professional role model?
APJ Abdul Kalam.
Okay. What's your favorite productivity hack?
So one is I follow this Poro mode techniques where after 30-40 minutes I try to take a break of 5 minutes. So I get energy. Secondly, I try to prioritize my work. So because working in different time zones, you are always running against the time. So I prioritize that.
What's the most exciting project you have ever done?
So talent mobility that we did, because we were into a lot of different countries, and then we did that, how the season patterns, and then how we can move these talent to the other market. So we made moving talent pool.
Like moving people from one country to
another country
Say
based
for
on
example,
season.
who do doing sales good in Africa, and if it's required to develop a market in Southeast Asia, you are moving
No,
that.
so even within Africa, so
Okay.
East Africa, you have seasons for 3 months.
Understood.
Then after 3 months, you have to move to the other side. So the talent mobility, I think that was really nice, because we put a lot of efforts and finally we made it here.
And are you a goal-oriented person or a process-oriented?
Goal. Need to reach place, whatever the way. Of course, ethical way, but otherwise.
Your advice for time management?
It's time management. Again, it's a priority, right? If you give a priority, then of course you will manage time accordingly. If your priority is your family, you will really find the time to do that. So it's all about the priority.
Priorities. 3 books you want to recommend?
So one is of course Bhagavad Gita.
Okay.
Take that book as a scientifically, that is a great book. And then Most and More Mahatri Rai, that's really good. And then Atomic Habit, James Clear.
Okay. And now you can look at the camera. What message you want to give to a young agri graduate who across the globe?
Few things. One is take decision. Right and wrong doesn't matter. First, because not taking decision is the biggest mistake, I would say. And secondly, master your thinking. That is really important. And third, from Mahatri Rai, which I really personally like that quotes, that you are one evening away from your greatness. So never give up. Keep on trying and you will get a success. And if you don't find any support from anyone in the industry and you are really aspired to do something, please contact me. We will find a way.
Thank you so much, and hope this conversation has been good and podcast has been good for you. And thank you for having here.
Thank you so much for coming. And it's really, interesting to see that, some different things which is happening in fertilizer industry, because it's always a big boys game. You don't see a lot of people coming in and all this. But now I think this is something interesting. We also enjoy.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.